Hello class, today we are doing a review on some grade 9 concepts in finding the equation of a line. So we'll need this knowledge in this next unit on analytic geometry. So we're doing just a quick review. So first of all, there's two different ways that you can find the equation of a line. Either you're given the slope and a point, or you're given 2 points, in which case you actually have to find the slope first and then find the y-intercept. In either of these cases, just remember that the equation of a line is y equals mx plus b. So your job when you're trying to find the equation of a line is just to find the appropriate y-intercept and to find the slope. That's all you need to do. Okay, so again, you can come up with this information by either being given the slope and then a point which will allow us to find the y-intercept, or you're given 2 coordinates, which allows us to first find the slope and then determine the y-intercept. So we're going to do an example of each along with some connections with perpendicular and parallel lines. So first we'll do an example about how to find the equation of a line if you're given the slope and just 1 point. So notice here that the slope is a half. So that means that m is equal to a half. So we can sub that right into our equation. Y equals m, so a half x plus b. Okay, so now we're trying to find b. So we can sub in x equals 1 and y equals 5 for x and y, because we know the point 1, 5 is on this line. So we're substituting in m, we did that, and now this point, so now we'll do that next, into the equation. So y is 5 equals a half times 1 plus b. So take a look at this equation. Notice that in this equation, the only variable now is b. That means we can solve for b. So now we just need to rearrange the equation to solve for b. So we do this multiplication. 5 equals a half times 1 is just a half plus b. So now we need to isolate b. So 5 minus a half is equal to b. So now you can either just put this in your calculator, or you can do subtraction using a common denominator, but either way you get that b is 9 over 2. So now we know our slope, we know our y-intercept, so we have the equation of a line. So you can write this in 2 ways, either y equals 1/2 x plus 9 over 2, or you can write this as y equals 0.5x plus 4.5. What you cannot do is do one of them as a fraction and one of them as a decimal, either both fractions or both as decimals. So let's graph this line to verify. So here we can plot our point 1, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we know that the slope is a half. So we go up 1 over 2, or in the other direction, we can go down 1 over 2. Okay, we can keep doing this to create more points. So when you take a ruler and, so sorry guys, it's so tough with the trackpad. If you do this with the ruler properly, you will see that the y-intercept is 4.5. That makes sense. So this is the equation, y equals a half x plus 9 over 2. And so this meets the criteria of the original question. Okay, so now what do we know about parallel and perpendicular lines? Well, if we want to find the equation of a line parallel to this and passing through this line, we have to remember that parallel lines have the same slope. So if it's parallel to this, it will have the same slope as that line. And it passes through this point. So the first thing we need to do is find the slope of this line. Notice that it's not in y equals mx plus b form, so we just need to put it into y equals mx plus b form by moving this y to the other side. So you get x minus 12 equals y, or y equals x minus 12. So notice here that the slope is just equal to 1. So therefore, the slope of a parallel line is equal to 1. So now we sub in this slope and this coordinate into y equals mx plus b and solve for b. So our y is negative 5 equals m, which is 1, x, which is 2, and then our unknown b. So negative 5 equals 2 plus b. So b is equal to negative 7. So our equation is y equals x minus 7. This line is parallel to this line, but also passes through this point. You can graph it to make some verifications. Okay, so now we have one that is perpendicular to this. So remember that perpendicular lines have slopes that are negative reciprocals. So if it's perpendicular to this line, the slope of this line is 4. So therefore, the slope of a perpendicular is negative 1 over 4. It's the negative reciprocal, top and bottom switch. And we know that it passes through the origin. The origin is just a fancy way of saying the point 0, 0. So we sub in 0 equals m, negative 1/4, since that's the slope of our line, x plus b, and now we can solve for b. Well, this just gives us b equals 0. So our equation is y equals negative 1/4 x plus b, which is just 0. So that's the equation of a line that's perpendicular to this and passes through the origin. Oops. Okay, so now we have to figure out how to find the equation of a line that passes through 2 points. So in this case, we don't know the slope. So we need to find the slope using the equation y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So the slope of this line would be 10 minus 2 divided by 5 minus 1. So that gives us 8 divided by 4, which is 2. So the slope of the line that connects these 2 points is 2. So now we find the y-intercept. So we can sub in slope, which we have, so m equals 2, and one of the points, either one, 1, 2, or 5, 10, because they both lie on the line. I'm going to use 1, 2, just simply because they're smaller numbers. So we get 2 for the y equals m, 2, x, 1, plus b. So 2 equals 2 plus b. So you actually get b equals 0. So then the equation of the line is y equals 2x plus 0, or just y equals 2x. So let's verify this with a graph. So the points were 1, 2, and 5, 10. Okay, so we can connect the 2 points again with a straight line, which would be a ruler, which would be really nice to have on here. Okay, and you can verify that, look, the y-intercept is 0, and that the slope is 2. When it goes over 1, it should go up 2. It goes over 1 and up 2. So I really did quite a poor job of connecting this. That's what it should be. I hope you used a ruler. That's really what it should look like. Okay, because if the slope is 2, you should go over 1 and up 2. That's what it should look like when you connect it with a ruler. So hopefully you are connecting it with a ruler and not my terrible bad line here drawn with the trackpad. Okay, so now you guys can go over the success criteria, make sure you can do all these things. And so in the next class, we'll practice all these skills because they will be very, very important for our next unit. So thanks for watching, guys. I hope you learned lots.